ලංකාවෙන් පිටරට ගිහිල්ලා ලංකාවට ක්‍රීඩිත ගැන මම බොහෝ උසස් මට්ටමින් දෙවීමට අදහස් කරනවා.
I just can't see them catching us. Tania Van Heer has run some unbelievable splits in this race before.
Tania Van Heer gets her second gold medal to go with her bronze in the 100.
So Tania Van Heer is going to leave these games with the most medals of any track and field athlete from our team.
Tania Van Heer, you are the champion in our eyes.
Tania Van Heer is a well-known name here in Australia. She is a Commonwealth medalist. She won multiple medals at the 1998 Colombo Games. And of course she has brought pride to Sri Lanka because of course she was born in Sri Lanka. And Tania is with us here on the program. Welcome first to the program, Tania.
Thank you.
It's good to have you with us. So let's first focus on your Sri Lankan connection. When did you move to Australia and why did you move to Australia?
Okay, so I was one of 5 kids, the youngest, and my family moved at the end of 2nd of November 1986, in fact. We touched down in Adelaide. My mother's family is all here, so we decided to call Adelaide home. We moved directly as a result of the 1983 race riots. Mum and Dad felt that the way things were looking, that we did not have a future, and it was somewhat, threatened, progress threatened in certain ways, and I think fear of safety.
Right.
And so we ended up in Adelaide.
Okay. And do you regret moving to Adelaide?
It was really exciting. I mean, I was 15 and a bit.
Right.
It was a new move. But as the years have gone on, the things that I've learned, that I've cultivated, that's made me. I realise is very much still rooted in Sri Lankan values, Sri Lankan culture, the people. And it is much sadness that I feel that I couldn't get to live my life where I was born. It was out of necessity that my parents felt they had to move. So there is still a very strong connection because I have very strong friendship groups and attachment to the place.
Okay.
While there is no regrets because I guess I was a child and I moved here and I achieved really quite well. It hasn't been smooth sailing, but I think it's more as you get older, that familiarity of connection with friends and your values and beliefs.
Yeah. And you did achieve something even in Sri Lanka, right? You was it the under 18?
Yeah, I was only 15, but I ran under 18. I had all these records, but it was also before Sugadadasa Stadium was just being built.
Okay.
Otherwise, prior to that, I ran always at Sugadadasa Stadium.
Right.
And that was prior to having the track, synthetic track there.
Okay.
But it was at Torrington Square is when I did most of my running.
Okay.
So it was a lot of it on grass.
Okay. So did you ever think that moving to Australia would help you still continue your athletic?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in terms of affordability of good nutrition. Because that was what was lacking. I had a stress fracture actually not long after I moved to Australia. I was picked in the World Junior team. I was ranked in the top 3 in the world at the time. The Sri Lankan and Australian domestic athletic season are different.
Right.
So when the Sri Lankan season ends, the Australian season is just about beginning in October. So I landed here 2nd November. So I've been 18 months of non-stop running. I was selected to go to Sudbury, Canada. I was ranked in the top 3 in the world at the time in the 100, 200 and 400, training through it, and then I had a stress fracture, and that was mainly due to a lack of good nutrition, calcium rich food, and the milk we drank was the Bear brand. I think people in Sri Lanka will remember the Bear brand milk, and that's what my family could afford, and the raw egg. So I hated it. But that was what sort of caused the stress fracture. So I missed that on going there. That was kind of a major disappointment. But the reasons to come here was also to further our athletic career.
Okay. And talk to us about how, you know, you trained and progressed and eventually got selected for the 1998 Commonwealth Games.
It was a really long process. I had a lot of injuries after I got here. So the first one being the stress fracture, then I was out for 6 weeks, and it was really cruel because I had my bags waxed. It was 3 weeks before the departure, and
right.
I couldn't walk away from my bed one morning because I kept ignoring the pain. Then kept training, then I had a load of hamstring issues because I was one of those athletes that really knows what hard work is and wasn't afraid of it. I think what drove me to train hard and to try and get selected, and despite my setbacks, I had a lot of them because I didn't really make it into Commonwealths in 1998. It's not from trying because I had a lot of injuries.
Right.
Back of my mind, I always remember the hardship people faced in Sri Lanka, and I felt like I owed it to people over there that I was going to take every opportunity and make the most of it. Mm-hmm. Adversity is a good thing.
Yeah.
It can make you stronger, it can give you a sense of social responsibility, and it's something that those memories and that life, it never really left me. It was actually what pushed me along.
Okay. And what were the reactions like? I know that the local media, you know, splashed the headline saying Sri Lankan born Tania wins Commonwealth. Yeah.
It was always Sri Lankan born, or the Sri Lankan flash,
yeah.
Or it was a Sri Lankan base. It was always, yeah.
The Sri Lankan connection.
It was always the Sri Lankan connection, yes.
But did that make you happy, or did you feel, no, look, like, I'm in Australia, I'm an Australian, you know, I've come to...
It didn't. I thought it was a bit silly. I felt that, oh, you know, I don't know why they had to do that. It
right.
didn't offend me, or... I mean, I thought it was pretty clear that I was from Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
But if people had the need to do that, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
I didn't mind.
I guess they wanted to say, look, someone who was in Sri Lanka has now, you know, achieved something big for another
And it's
country.
also a good thing because a lot of people don't seem to know a lot about Sri Lanka. They keep talking about India and they keep asking, are you Indian? I said, no, I'm Sri Lankan. Haven't you heard of Sri Lanka? So it was kind of a good thing in a way.
Yeah. But how did your friends react, your family back home react when you won, you know, the medals in Kuala Lumpur?
It was really hard one because what people don't realize or have forgotten is there was an Aboriginal athlete who was challenging my position on the Commonwealth Games team.
Oh.
Her name was Nova Perry. She somehow felt that she was justified in taking the Australian selectors to the Court of Arbitration, challenging their selection criteria and their reason for selecting me. So I didn't even know if I was going to be in that, able to run that 100 meters or not. Okay. In fact, when we were in Darwin, it was such a circus. I was so homesick and I was harassed so much by the media wanting to see what was going to happen with the court case. They moved me twice. The team was... There was so much team disharmony, there was so much focus on me and the court case and Nova that I guess in a way it robbed the rest of the team's ability to just focus, get on. I feel sorry for them. I actually said to team management, I want to go home because I've had enough. I said, this is not how I've been brought up. You know, if this person wants to run this so bad, it's causing so much upheaval in the team. I don't want to be a part of this.
So wasn't there support for you from the team and the team manager?
There was support, but it concerned me what it was doing to other people.
Right.
You could only have to go to a track to train, and the media would be camped there and was always focused on what was going on, nothing on anybody else. Okay. Nova herself was isolated by the rest of the team. She would be seen, you know, by herself. I feel sorry for her as well. I mean, she brought it on herself, but you know, you're a human being. People make mistakes, I guess, and It was not a good time, and I wasn't happy. I was homesick as well. And, I went to team management and said, look, you know, if she wants to run this so bad, this is not right. I will go home. Then they said to me, if you go home, we will not have a 4x1 relay. We will not have a 4x4 relay. There's only 4 of you. There's no reserves.
Right.
And that was the reason I stayed.
Okay.
I have to share with you that night. I had this amazing dream. I had no idea where I was. I was holding my niece's hand, and I distinctly see, I was in a crowded place, I distinctly see, it was a blue sky, the image of Christ. And he didn't say anything to me, but I felt a sense of peace. And when I woke up the next morning, I knew things were going to be okay. It was 24 hours later that I got the message that the Court of Arbitration had ruled in favor of me running the race.
Okay.
But it was quite a difficult time, to say the least. Yeah.
How did it feel afterwards? I mean, you won, everything happened, but you continued in track and field?
Yes, so following 98, it was a hugely successful year. Then I was selected in 99 for the World Championships.
Right.
So there was a lot of attention on me at this time, you know, the momentum. I ran a 22:42.
Right.
It was ranked in the top 3. I ran this in Canberra. On top of all of this, it was a controversy because Cathy Freeman was in the race and I beat her and she pulled out in halfway on during the race on the bend. But then if that wasn't bad enough, there was this huge uproar that I'd broken, that I broke the gun.
Okay.
But the media came to my aid, and in a way that the focus of the camera showed the gun had fired because the smoke had come out, but because it takes time for sound to travel, people sitting on the Cathy Freeman camp, sitting on the other side of the track, thought it looked like I'd made the world champion look like she was standing still. She was in lane 6 and I was in lane 5.
Okay. But
by that time I was determined to win that race. So when the gun went off, I had caught her in about half a dozen steps.
Okay.
And running past her. So that's why it looked like I had broken. I knew I hadn't.
Okay.
But then it took them 2 weeks. They had an apology letter. So that was always controversy. Then following that run at that same meet, I ran a 22:42, my personal best ever. I was so sore, but then I was told by the relay coach that I have to run a relay. That was the Australia Gold team, that they sometimes put us together to make sure that we had the opportunity to do a back and change. And even though I said, look, I'm really sore because I'm mobbed by the crowd for autographs, I went straight from the run, hanging around, signing autograph to starting a relay. Within a few strides, I pulled a hamstring.
Oh.
So I went from feeling 20 minutes before that, feeling really high on top of the world, to really low and in pain and hurting myself.
Okay.
So I was preparing to go to World Indoors at the time, into Medalist in Japan, so it's like, here we go again. So then the race time was on to try and get me fixed because Australia was going for the world record for the 4x4, including the Cathy Freeman team. And I don't know how it happened. I mean, miracles do happen. Within a few weeks, I was up and running again. I did go to Medalist, and Australia did break the world record in the heat, but then Russia broke it again in the final, so that was it. But then they did something illegal. They swapped one of their runners in the heat to the final, which you're not allowed to do.
Yeah.
So it was a huge roller coaster. I had a huge lot of successes. I went to Seville World Championships. I went into the final and into the semi-final, and I knew that it was the top 3 that was getting selected. So I decided to turn off just close to the line, and in the corner of my eye, I was in the inside lane. I could see somebody on the outside lane dip, and I thought, oh, did they get me or not? And they did. It was the other Aussie girl, and so that was a hard lesson. I missed out on the final.
Okay.
So there have been fair few disappointments, character building, I think, but I never got to fix that mistake, you know, because I never went to a world championship after that. Yeah, so in a nutshell, yeah, that's basically the highlights of my career, yeah.
And now, of course, you're a mother of two, and your son is also now in athletics, right?
Yes, so as we speak, like he came back yesterday from Gold Coast, he's traveling to England on the 7th of July, and he is preparing for World Championships. He's only just 19 years old, so this is his second time he's going.
Okay.
Last year he went as well. And he'll be based in England, and he'll be running a few comps there. And then I think it's somewhere in August, it's in Budapest, in Hungary, where he competes in the 200.
Okay. And what are you up to? I mean, are you looking at maybe even helping young athletes? Are you coaching anyone?
You know, funnily enough, I'm very much, it might be connected to my understanding of social justice and my own experience of having to leave my homeland. I actually just completed a degree in international development.
Wow, okay.
Because I had this burning desire to make a difference in the world, and I know that I want to do it not through sport. I mean, sport is one angle, I can do that with my eyes closed. I have a real burning desire to go to Sri Lanka and start in the slums of Sri Lanka and start making people food secure, because the climate is so good. In fact, when the financial crisis was on, I actually rang Rosie Senanayake, actually emailed her, sorry.
Okay.
And said, look, you know, I would really like to do something. And I think what was impressed on my heart was, and after doing the degree, was something very simple, you know, getting the universities, schools on board, and, you know, even in the slums, you get small pieces of earth and land that people can grow food. And to focus on indigenous food. And by the way, can I tell you, do you know Sri Lankan cinnamon is the only real cinnamon in the world? And you can check this out, Science Direct is going to be the futuristic medication for type 2 diabetes and the lowering of bad cholesterol. In fact, I've just started doing it.
Okay.
I've just come about it. So there's a lot going for that place. And I would like to sort of, you know, that's where my heart is at the moment to, I don't know, some luck at the moment. I'm actually trying to apply for a job that will actually get me into a position where I interview students going from here over to those countries for some kind of internship. But eventually I'd like to go to Sri Lanka, where I am on the interview panel, where I am interviewing undergraduates to come to Australia. I think at the moment it's in engineering. I would like to see in farming and agriculture.
Okay.
Because that's where a lot of poor families, and also to attract more younger people, because I think Sri Lanka is an agriculture economy.
Yeah.
We can't forget that, and people need to be food secure.
Yeah.
Whereas in engineering, you know, it's the rich families and it's the same people that get the opportunities. They come here and they go back, and the proviso is that they don't leave the country for 4 years. And I think, well, what's the point of that? It's a brain drain. After 4 years, they don't stay, they go. How is that development?
Yeah.
So that is sort of where my head is.
So that you're moving yourself away from sports and focusing on other issues.
Other issues, because I mean, I can always put on my sporting hat and help people along the way, but I think the most basic thing is food.
Okay.
And supporting people where they're at.
Right. Well, it was really good talking to you, Tania. Thank you for joining us and being with us on this program. And well, I just wish you all the best for your future endeavors.
Thank you very much, and I wish you all the best as well.
Thank you so much. And that's all the time we have for you for this program. Till next time, stay safe.